Oh, hi there. I didn't see you come in. Welcome to today's spotlight topic on the Jewish diaspora and the origins of anti-Semitism. I am so excited to share with you a fascinating topic that literally spans millennia and covers the globe. I know you will enjoy learning about this critical subject. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore the history of the Jewish diaspora, including its defining characteristics, and how it has both shaped and been shaped by anti-Semitism throughout the centuries. This journey will take us through ancient Babylon, medieval Europe, and into the complexities of the modern world. Remember, this is just a highlight reel, so be sure to read the full essay located on Canvas for a deeper understanding. Get your pencils ready to take notes, as we'll be covering some essential and thought-provoking points that you'll want to remember. Now let me turn the microphone over to Emily. She has a much nicer voice than me.
Thanks, Professor Austin. Hi, everybody. I'm glad to be back. Let's start by defining diaspora. The term diaspora comes from the Greek word diasporein, meaning to scatter. It refers to any group of people spread out from their original homeland to multiple geographic areas. The Jewish diaspora is one of the most well-documented, but the concept also applies to other groups like the Chinese, African, and Armenian diasporas. Diasporas typically feature several key characteristics, including push migration, an inability to return, the idealization of the homeland, maintaining a strong ethnic identity, settlement in multiple host countries, and often facing hostility from host communities. These elements are crucial for understanding the dynamics and experiences of diasporic communities. Let's discuss each of those essential characteristics. First, what's a push migration? Well, a push migration is exactly what it sounds like. Peoples were pushed out of their homeland. Push migration involves catastrophic events such as wars, famines, persecutions, and natural disasters that force people to leave their homeland. For instance, the Jewish diaspora began with the Babylonian exile in 586 BC, when Jews were forcibly removed from Judea. Similar dynamics are seen in other diasporas, such as the Chinese migration due to economic hardships, warfare, and natural disasters like droughts. Persecution, such as pogroms against Jews in Eastern Europe, has played a critical role in the formation of diasporas. Pogroms are violent attacks targeting specific ethnic or religious groups, leading to mass casualties and forced migrations. These violent acts often have state sanction or tacit approval from authorities, pushing people to flee and seek safety elsewhere. Diasporic communities often face barriers preventing their return to their homeland. This inability to return fosters a nostalgic idealization of their homeland, which is kept alive through cultural and religious practices. For example, Jewish prayers and rituals often express a desire to return to Israel. Diasporic groups strive to maintain their distinct ethnic identities through endogamy, preserving languages, customs, traditions, and religious practices. Jewish communities, for instance, have maintained Hebrew and Yiddish, celebrated Jewish holidays, and practiced Judaism despite living in foreign lands. Diasporas spread across multiple host countries, creating interconnected communities. However, these communities often face hostility, such as anti-Semitism in Europe or the Chinese Exclusion Act in the United States. This hostility impacts how these communities organize and live within their host countries. Due to this hostility, diasporic groups often settle in specific areas within host countries, forming tight-knit enclaves. These settlements provide mutual support and help preserve cultural identity. Jewish ghettos in medieval Europe and Chinatowns in major cities are examples of such settlements. The Jewish diaspora has a vast and complex history characterized by significant events and migrations. Let's take a look at some key moments and places in the Jewish diaspora. The earliest significant dispersal occurred when the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar II, conquered the Kingdom of Judah. Jerusalem was destroyed, and many Jews were taken captive to Babylon. This marked the beginning of the Jewish diaspora. In 538 BCE, Cyrus the Great of Persia conquered Babylon and allowed Jews to return to Judah. Some returned, while others chose to remain in Babylon or migrate elsewhere, setting a precedent for maintaining identity in foreign lands. the Romans' destruction of the Second Temple in Jerusalem led to a large-scale dispersion of Jews throughout the Roman Empire. This expanded the Jewish diaspora significantly, with communities established in Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. After the failed Bar Kokhba revolt, in 135 AD, Emperor Hadrian expelled Jews from Jerusalem and rebuilt the city as Aelia Capitolina, banning Jews from entering. This forced Jews to migrate further into the Roman Empire and beyond, deepening the diaspora. Jewish communities continued to grow across Europe, the Middle East, and North Africa. The rise of Islam in the 7th century provided new opportunities for Jewish migration. However, in Christian Europe, Jews faced expulsions and restrictions, including from England, 1290, France, 1306 and 1394, and Spain, 1492. These expulsions forced Jews to continue their migrations, yet they always retained their religious and ethnic identity. The Enlightenment and Emancipation in the 18th and 19th centuries led to greater integration of Jews in European society. However, the rise of nationalism and anti-Semitism, culminating in the Holocaust, had devastating effects. The establishment of Israel in 1948 provided a homeland for Jews, but the diaspora remains extensive, with significant communities in the United States, Canada, Russia, Argentina, and other countries. Understanding these key events and movements helps us grasp the breadth and resilience of the Jewish diaspora, setting the stage for our discussion on the rise of anti-Semitism. With Jews continually pushed from place to place and lacking a permanent homeland to return to, they were left increasingly vulnerable to the pervasive and deeply damaging ideology of anti-Semitism. This ugly and destructive hatred took root and spread, leaving Jewish communities exposed to centuries of prejudice, violence, and discrimination. As we discussed earlier, in the Hellenistic, Roman, and medieval worlds, anti-Semitism took root as Jewish communities were often viewed with suspicion and hostility due to their distinct religious practices and refusal to assimilate. In the Hellenistic period, Jews faced cultural clashes as they resisted adopting Greek customs. During the Roman era, events such as the destruction of the Second Temple and the Bar Kokhba revolt intensified negative perceptions of Jews as rebellious and unassimilable. In medieval Europe, Jews were often restricted from owning land, pushing them into occupations like moneylending, which fueled further suspicion and resentment. Jews were subjected to various forms of discrimination, including living in segregated ghettos. This long-standing prejudice set the stage for anti-Semitism to evolve into more insidious religious and racial forms in later centuries. Early Christian teachings often depicted Jews as Christ killers, fostering deep animosity. This religiously motivated anti-Semitism led to widespread persecution, including false accusations such as blood libel, which claimed that Jews used Christian blood in religious rituals, and host desecration, which alleged that Jews desecrated the consecrated host. These baseless charges fueled violence against Jewish communities, leading to massacres and forced conversions. The entrenched belief in Jewish culpability for the death of Christ permeated Christian Europe, laying the groundwork for centuries of systemic discrimination and brutal pogroms. This religious hatred eventually intertwined with emerging racial theories, further intensifying anti-Semitic sentiments and paving the way for the horrific events of the modern era. The Enlightenment led to the emancipation of Jews in Europe, granting them a brief period of equal rights and citizenship. However, this integration also gave rise to new forms of anti-Semitism, with Jews often viewed as clannish, disloyal, and economically exploitative. The rise of nationalism exacerbated these sentiments. The late 19th and early 20th centuries saw the rise of racial anti-Semitism, heavily influenced by the pseudo-scientific theories of racialism and eugenics. Racialism posits that human races have distinct characteristics that determine their behavior and abilities, often positioning some races as superior to others. Eugenics, another pseudo-scientific theory, aims to improve the genetic quality of a population through selective breeding. Under these ideologies, Jews were portrayed as a biologically distinct and harmful race. This portrayal laid the groundwork for the Holocaust, where 6 million Jews were systematically murdered under Nazi ideology. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism continues to persist today, including extreme forms in certain segments of contemporary Islamic societies and their supporters. Radical Islamist groups and certain regimes propagate extreme anti-Semitic rhetoric, often linked to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, portraying Jews as eternal enemies of Islam and spreading conspiracy theories. The Jewish diaspora has been characterized by profound pain and suffering, yet it also stands as a testament to remarkable perseverance and endurance. Understanding the historical context of anti-Semitism within the Jewish diaspora is crucial for addressing and combating this enduring form of hatred in contemporary society. The connection between forced migrations, restricted economic opportunities, and resulting hostilities provides a comprehensive view of how deeply rooted and multifaceted anti-Semitism is.
Thanks, Emily. The Jewish diaspora and the pervasive issue of anti-Semitism represent a tragic and enduring chapter in human history. The forced dispersion of Jewish communities across the globe, often in the face of systemic persecution and under duress, has created a complex narrative of resilience and survival. Despite their perseverance, Jewish communities have continuously faced persistent anti-Semitism, resulting in countless injustices and acts of violence against individuals and communities. This long history of suffering highlights the importance of understanding and combating anti-Semitism in all its forms. In contemporary times, anti-Semitism continues to rear its ugly head in both overt and insidious forms. A stark example is the tragic event of the Tree of Life synagogue shooting in Pittsburgh in 2018, where 11 worshippers were brutally murdered during their Shabbat services. This heinous act, driven by deep-seated hatred and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, reflects a broader, disturbing trend of rising anti-Semitism globally. Such incidents underscore the lethal potential of unchecked bigotry and highlight the urgent need for concerted action against hate. As we reflect on these issues, it is imperative to recognize our collective responsibility in fostering a more inclusive and just society. I implore each of you to actively engage against all forms of hatred and bigotry. Whether through education, advocacy, or everyday interactions, we all have a role to play in challenging prejudice and promoting understanding. Let us commit to standing in solidarity with those who are marginalized, speaking out against injustice, and building a world where everyone can live free from fear and discrimination. Remember, the ultimate goal of education is to develop the knowledge and character necessary to improve society and bless the lives of those around us.